rewinding back to the 1970s once again, when movies were cooler than they are today, as well as the fashion, when clothes were cooler too. I gotta say the 70s had the best clothes, but that has to come back. So here we are, Enter the Dragon, starring Bruce Lee as the movie begins at the Shaolin Temple, I think in Los Angeles. And here we meet Lee, played by none other than Bruce Lee, as he warms up fighting his opponent in front of all these Shaolin masters. Oh, and by the way, this was way before MMA, UFC, all those cage fighting sports ever came into existence. But yeah, you can't beat the classic stuff. Alright, so far he's winning, and so now the two bow to each other, and now Lee speaks to his teacher. Sounds like he has some voiceover work done by some other actor, but he sounds dubbed.
I see your talents have gone beyond the mere physical level.
Even though this is a big budget Hollywood movie, still got some voiceovers here and there, but that's okay. It's an old movie. So now we see a lengthy discussion between the two as Lee is instructed to go see a Mr. Han. Now it's giving Jaden Smith Karate Kid so far. So here we meet Mr. Brathwaite, a man who works for an organization, maybe with the law, played by Jeffrey Weeks, and speaks that there's a tournament happening. This is sort of kind of like that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Bloodsport, with the Kumite, even though that stuff was actually real in real life. Frank Dukes is real. And here comes Lee's student, Lau.
Let me think. Don't think. Feel.
And now for the intro theme. And here we see some other guys who will be participating in the tournament. Once again, Lalo Schifrin is the composer for the score, as well as directed by Robert Klaus. Pretty good music in the intro theme for this movie. There's a reason why this movie is Bruce Lee's best movie. This is the best one, I gotta say. Alright, so back to business. Brathwaite presents some information about the tournament, as well as Han and his bodyguard O'Hara, played by Robert Wall, who is a known B-rated martial artist as far as I know. He's been in a few other Bruce Lee movies, especially the ones with the famous guys in them. I forget who. So Han has a martial arts school on that island, and that holds these tournaments every 3 years, as well as the disappearance of a flight attendant, since Han uses girls as a form of shipping drugs, which you'll find out soon. And Brathwaite wants Lee to go check this out. So Lee is like James Bond here. He's on a James Bond kind of mission, as well as to uncover this Han mystery, even though Lee has no association with the law, or neither he's a secret agent or an FBI agent or whatever. He's not. He's just a normal martial artist here. And as well to look out for a missing female operative. Her name's Mei Ling. And that's that. So now back on the water, we see Lee sitting like a Shaolin monk as he's being taken to the next destination. Here we meet him as well. And here we meet him as he tells Lee the flashback that his sister was also on that island where the last tournament had occurred, and this guy was there too. Run! And that's how he's had that scar for the entirety of the movie. O'Hara, by the way. And now all these guys are chasing her, and here is O'Hara again. And by the way, he died in 2022. So Lee's sister grabs this piece of glass and looks like she's going to kill herself. And to avoid Han and O'Hara and the dangers of that island. So nice suit, Lee. I always thought the 70s has had the best fashion. Long collars, wide-legged pants. Better than today's clothes, that's for sure. So now he's at the cemetery, I guess his sister's grave, and gives some words of wisdom. Yeah, alright, so that was actually a flashback since we were in the tournament location. And now here we see the other competitor, Roper, played by John Saxon, known for Nightmare on Elm Street, the movie from the 80s, which I've never seen. And I have to, as Roper now has his own flashback in America. And now these three guys come out threatening Roper, and now goes Bruce Lee mode on these guys too. And that is how Roper became a recipient for the tournament held by Han. And now the next recipient, Williams, played by the famous Jim Kelly, semi-known martial artist, and mainly B-rated movies if you keep up with that stuff, but I highly doubt you do. And now it's Williams' time for his flashback, and at this all-black dojo somewhere in America. And now that Williams is walking out, as two cops stop him with some racist remarks. And now he goes Bruce Lee mode as well. And that is how he became recipient for the tournament. So you got 2 Americans and 1 non-American. So Roper and Williams actually know each other, as well as this guy, Parsons, but it's their first time seeing Lee, by the way. Okay, so back on the ship, we see these guys watching these 2 praying mantises fighting. And as a way for Lee to not to be suspected for anything, he puts a wager on it with Roper. And we see this guy bringing out oranges, and Parsons over here decides to be a little cocky. Alright, so Parsons is so bored to the point where he is desperate for Lee to show off his moves. And some fun stuff.
Don't you think we need more room?
Hey, what the hell are you doing? Hey, are you crazy?
And speaking of Bloodsport, like I said before, here we meet Bolo. Believe it or not, that is his name in the movie, played by Bolo Young. Easily recognizable from Bloodsport as well as other Van Damme movies from the 90s he's done. As well as the introduction of Tanya, played by Anna Capri.
A woman like that could teach you a lot about yourself.
So they made it to the island for the tournament, as Bolo is giving some very angry looks towards the new competitors. Well, mainly towards Lee, because he's never seen him. And we see the top view of the martial arts school that Brathwaite was telling Lee that is run by Han. And now we see some all in one club. Everyone is having fun as O'Hara is just walking around. Now Lee summons Roper. And now here comes Mr. Han himself, played by Shi Qian, to waste some time with his guests. Priceless. Looks like no one likes Mr. Han, or no one really cares. Alright, so Williams is listening to music on his retro headphones, and here comes Tanya with a group of girls for him to take from, for him to choose from, but why choose one when he can have all of them? And now it's Lee's turn to choose, but he doesn't like any of them since he wants the girl that was at the fun place from before. Now it's Roper's turn, but he prefers Tanya. So here comes the girl that Lee won from the party earlier, and it's of course Mei Ling, the girl that disappeared, or the agent that disappeared, played by Betty Chung. So Mei Ling actually blended in with the island and knows nothing about Han's operations. So now Lee is practicing and O'Hara is back, wanting Lee to come outside.
You must attend the morning ritual in uniform.
Outside.
So we are inside Han's school, and one of the students questions Lee why he isn't wearing the uniform, and the look on his face here just says, "Don't you know I'm Bruce Lee?" You know, that kind of attitude he's got on his face. And now we just see the other students doing punches and competitors wearing yellow gis. Here comes Mr. Han and Tanya as Bolo is now instructed to open the tournament. So we see Williams versus the bully Parsons from before, as Roper talks to the Chinese Hitler or Charlie Chaplin, placing a bet between the two on who wins. And Williams wins and Roper gets the money. So now it's Roper's turn, and so far he's losing. So Roper wins, and now he gets a massage from Tanya as
You must stay.
So now Lee prepares to go play James Bond now. A really goofy way of sneaking around. It's like tippy-toeing everywhere. And now some quick subduing. Now Lee opens up this hatch and now ties the rope to go in and sees some warehouse workers loading up barrels. And the guard cuts the rope in the hatch and Lee bumps into these other guards and now some more Bruce Lee action as Williams watches him climb up after some breathing exercises.
Fly.
And the next morning, Han is pissed off that someone broke out at night and that his guards will be punished for being lazy, as Bolo takes off his gi right to punish them severely. That's gotta hurt. Now some more punishing. Okay, so now it's Lee's turn at the tournament. Han is like a James Bond villain you would see in the older movies, since he has O'Hara and Bolo as two bodyguards. These two are like Gobinda and Oddjob. So Lee's opponent has been chosen, which is of course O'Hara, played by Bob Wall. And Lee knows how he got the scar with the flashback since he saw Lee's sister committing suicide in front of him as Lee takes revenge on him in this tournament. And now O'Hara tries to attack Lee with these glass bottles, ending it off with this. Now Han wants to see Williams as he suspects him that he attacked those guards last night that were killed by Bolo, which we know that was actually Lee, but Han doesn't suspect his own kind as far as I know. But we get this nonsense set up by Han. So now fight breaks between Williams and Han as we now see where the girls are stored and are all high. And we see that Han has a metal hand under those gloves. It makes sense it makes sense why Williams was almost beaten to death. And if you still don't believe me that this is like a James Bond kind of movie, just look at Han here stroking his cat like Blofeld as he talks to Roper. Except Bruce Lee's pretending to be a spy, which he's really not. He's just a regular guy from Los Angeles among the Shaolin monks. At this point, we get it that Han is slowly killing all of those tournament recipients from the past since he is desperate to know who left the room last night. So that's the bone of Han's missing hand, by the way, as he shows Roper around this mini museum. To put his head under the guillotine, but instead puts his cat. Well, so it wasn't a functioning guillotine. It was just like a click of a button to get to the next room. As Han takes him to the same place where we saw Lee breaking into an underground power plant. And all these women that are trapped on this island, quote unquote, are not really trapped. Apparently all these women are Han's daughters. So he is kind of smart here of Han, having these many daughters for a specific reason. Manipulation of male tournament recipients.
They are my daughters.
So as he continues to show Roper around, he says he is investing in corruption, which is covered by this martial arts school of the mission behind with these tournaments that he has. Behind all these tournaments he has every 3 years is to recruit certain foreigners from certain countries for his corruption business to flourish. And he has been searching for an American martial artist and to bribe him to further his business in America, since he failed to try to bribe Williams since he fought back for being accused for something he didn't do, who is also another American martial artist, but he chose Roper since he didn't really, he actually had the time to think and not react quickly like what's his name, Williams. And we pass by the imprisoned tournament competitors from the past who refused to work with Han, so they never left the island. As Williams is to be fed to the sharks, James Bond style, and Roper has forcefully agreed to Han's plan. And as we see Lee sneaking around again with a James Bond-like background music made for this movie playing, and he sneaks in back into the power plant, and we see this girl begging for help. So there's about 20 minutes left in the movie as Lee pulls out the snake and ready to slither inside the guard's office. So he pulled the alarm on. And now for Lee to show off his physique. Now he goes back to showing off his moves. Goes back to the elevator, and now some more guards. And now even more guards as well as the cleaning staff. And now he's really trapped.
I was going to ask you to join us.
And here we see Brathwaite waking up with a letter. It looks like a letter that Lee is in trouble. Cool pajamas, by the way. And here comes back Roper back in his tournament gi as we see Han and Lee and Bolo and unties Lee. And now Roper is supposed to fight Lee but refuses. Now the deadly Bolo steps in instead. So Mei Ling now releases all the past imprisoned competitors and now back with the fight, and Bolo has been defeated. And now Lee stops to help Roper. Or Han has ordered his students right now. And now a whole bunch of fighting with all these brainwashed students as they beat up against the imprisoned students or the imprisoned competitors. Alright, so Han now takes out this bear claw to kill Scratch, the imprisoned guys. Now some more funny fighting, and now Han's fake hand is knocked off, and now he escapes as Lee follows him. Han now goes back to his mini museum and grabs the next hand replacement. And now he gets scarred like O'Hara. So he just scratched his abs, wow. And he is tasting his own blood. Seriously? Come on. Now back to fighting as Lee kicks him in the face. And now Han runs to the next room by rotating the mirror on the wall. And now we're inside this fun house with more fighting and with some back scratching. And now Lee remembers what the Shaolin master said at the beginning of the movie. And this fun house bit is like this for another minute. And that's the end of Han. We see Roper sitting down, and all the competitors in black are checking if Han's students are officially dead. Even Tanya's dead too. I guess Mei Ling killed her. And here comes out Lee signaling Roper that Han is dead. And here comes out the help sent by Brathwaite. And that's the end of Enter the Dragon 1973. And just like all movies released before the year 1980, the credits are around 30 seconds long with just the cast and the major names that have, contributed more to the movie. And this movie did extremely well, money-wise, in the 70s. I think it made more money than a James Bond movie from back then, too. So Bruce Lee died that same year at age 32, but his final movie release was actually Game of Death in 1978, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was still a basketball player. But that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video. We are headed back to the 90s again with True Lies from 1994. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Check out this movie if you haven't yet. It's a classic. It's great. See you soon in the next one. Take care and watch away.